Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee and Headlines, our daily get-together live here on Facebook, 10:30 in the morning every single day. And here at Coffee and Headlines, we take a look at recent headlines, stories, questions, ideas, comments, suggestions that will help us, hopefully, have a more interesting, more vibrant, more fulfilling life here in Puerto Vallarta as English-speaking locals. It is always a pleasure to see all of you here, and it's always a pleasure to see new faces. So if you are new to these broadcasts, please let us know by writing the word new in your comment. That way, we can give you a proper welcome. Also, if you are new to these broadcasts, my name is Paco, and I live here. I'm a local. I'm an English-speaking local, although I'm 100% Mexican. But I've always considered myself half Mexican, half English-speaking, not local, because I lived in the United States for 20 years. So I identify with both communities very much, and I'm very happy to be part of both communities. So that's what we do. That's who we are. And we have a lot of things to cover today. And I'm going to start because we're going to have a poll today. We're going to have a poll. So I'm going to deploy that in a little bit because I want to make sure that we get a lot of people on board. This is important. It has to do with a question that somebody sent me. But of course, we have a lot of news to cover as well. Hurricane Hernán came and went, and he left his mark in the region. Puerto Vallarta didn't fare so badly, but areas surrounding our city, our bay for that matter, were severely affected. We'll take a look at what's going on so we can consider ourselves fortunate and feel a little bit for those people that didn't fare so well. We take a look at a couple of COVID-related news and food-related news about all this new labeling that's going on, about the increasing awareness going on in Mexico about junk food and carbonated beverages and how the carbonated beverage industry is responding. And if some of the local outlets that I monitor get their act together and they publish, the internet's been acting up, but not with me and with some of the websites that I follow. So I just hope that some photographs show up when it's time to show them here on the show. Let me take a quick look at your hellos just to see if there's anything particularly important at this stage. We will continue to check during the program. Lots of people from all over the place. This is always wonderful. What do you mean it's not the right music? Paul, what are you talking about? I could be singing something for you if you want. I see that Paul is in town. I hope you're enjoying your vacation, Paul. Thomas, always good to see you, and all of these other wonderful people from everywhere. Jorge is in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And yes, thank God it's Friday. I know the week comes and goes. It's really great to see this. And yes, it is a wet morning for those of us that are living here. And what else? Everybody's enjoying the cool morning. We certainly are. I didn't have to have my ceiling fan as high as I usually do. Mateo is in Yelapa. Mateo, I hope you guys are doing okay. because, of course, you may be struggling with rains and whatnot. I hope that the river is not too overloaded down there. Anyhow, let us get started with a question that somebody submitted to me. Before I put up that question online, on the screen, let me just remind myself, us, that we are a website, a show devoted to English speaking locals, and by locals I mean people that live here. Now, local can be a gray area for some of you who live here only seasonally, but you consider yourselves locals as well. I would certainly not hold that against you, although you come here during 6 months and then you leave and you're no longer locals. But who am I to put labels on people? Anyhow, I got this. Where is it? Where is it? I got this question just yesterday about property management. Where is it? Here it is. There is a viewer that sent me a question about property management, looking for a management company to take care of their property. They don't rent the property when they are not here. They have been having problems finding a management company because most management companies apparently are more interested in renting rather than managing. And he was saying, well, this would be a great story for you to address. And my first reaction was, well, wait a second. If you're not here, then you're not a local. But I don't like to say no to anybody. So I wrote him back and I said to him, well, Coffee and Headlines is for locals. I know that you're not being here all the time puts you in a gray area, and I don't like to say no to anyone. So what I'm going to do is let me check with the community, because for all I know, I don't have to deal with property management companies because I rent my apartment, but maybe more of you that I'm aware of have to deal with this. So what I propose to do is let me check with Coffee and Headlines viewers. For all I know, many of you deal with property management woes, and we could all learn from this expertise. So I think there should be a poll on the screen. If you would be kind enough to let me know where you stand as far as property management issues as English-speaking locals, then this guides me as to know whether this is something that I should be looking into to better connect you with whatever is available. So let me leave that there for a while, take some time for answering the poll, and then what I'm going to do is we can go back to this when we get to the leisurely section of the program. Boom, 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 boom. If you're talking to me, my dear, it is not my birthday, Julie. If it's somebody else's birthday, please let me know, because we want to say happy birthday. Mateo chimes back on what's going on in Yelapa. Beach washed out and light flooding. I hope you guys are doing okay. Anyhow, let us dive into the news because, of course, we want to take a look at what the hurricane is doing. Let's have a look. Okay, so again, we often say that we are safe from Mother Nature when it comes to rain and hurricanes and things like that because we're in the middle of a bay. And this is certain for the most part. Hurricanes have to be aiming in a very specific direction to affect Puerto Vallarta severely. We're very fortunate in that regard. But of course, north and south of us, things have looked very, very differently. These images come from south of Puerto Vallarta, from Melaque, where Melaque and La Manzanilla, there's been a lot of damage, a lot of flooding, and this is truly unfortunate. Look at that. I can relate to that photograph in more ways than you can imagine because, as you know, I killed my car in a recent downpour here in Puerto Vallarta. But this is what's going on south of Puerto Vallarta. It's not pretty, and a number of people needed to be evacuated. North of Puerto Vallarta, in Bahía de Banderas, we also saw that on the highway, there were a lot of landslides and streets that were flooded, which is truly unfortunate. And we are under high alert in Puerto Vallarta because of the current in our rivers um, um, can increase. Of course, we're looking at a photograph of the Ameca River, which is the river that separates the state of Jalisco with the state of Nayarit. As you know, when you cross over to Nayarit, to Nuevo Vallarta, and so forth and so on, there are two one-way bridges, one going north and one coming south. Those of us that have lived in Puerto Vallarta long enough can remember that dreadful year, 2010, 10 years ago, when one of the two bridges actually fell down because of the strength of the water coming down the river. And this turned out into a nightmare that lasted over 6 months because it took that long for the river to be rebuilt. So going north or south of Puerto Vallarta, there was only one lane available each way. So during that whole season, if you had to do any kind of business in, say, Nuevo Vallarta, it would take as much as 3 hours just to cross over to the other side of the river. So needless to say, Puerto Vallarta is on maximum alert. We want to make sure that these rivers are sturdy enough. On a more personal note, somebody shared this with me. The day after we came back from San Sebastián del Oeste, there was this major landslide that blocked the highway entirely. And unfortunately, this can happen on that highway. We were fortunate that the highway itself was very nicely paved recently. And that was a good thing, but we never know what the mountain's going to do. And because I'm looking at this on the screen, let me pause for a second and say, Sherry, happy birthday. Happy birthday, Sherry. I am so happy that you're having a birthday today. Yay! I hope you have a wonderful birthday today. I hope you have candles. I hope you have cake. I could use some cake myself, but that's a different story. Let us not worry about my need for cake, but we will worry about your need for cake. Later on today, I'll go and order a margarita and I'll drink to your health. Now, going back to this business of the headlines, happy birthday. Let me show you a little bit of what is going on with the weather. If we look at this little very fancy graph, we see that Hurricane Hernán is already out of the way. It's already heading out to the Pacific. But look at all this wind. Look at all this wind getting trapped here. And here's Puerto Vallarta. And this is where we're getting into trouble. And if we just look at the rain overlay, we see that there's still a fair amount of rain to land around here and to land on the lower side of the state, and also in Nayarit, which would be up here. So today will continue to be a rainy day for us. Again, we don't seem to be getting that much rain in Puerto Vallarta, but we will definitely be thinking of communities north and south of here, just because they're not as protected as we are within Banderas Bay. I saw a couple of questions go by, or maybe, Karen asks, how is Yelapa doing? Someone from Yelapa just chimed in and and informed us of the fact that they have a little bit of flooding, but hopefully they're going to be doing good. Happy birthday, we did that. There is Mateo's answer. The beach was washed out, and there was a little bit of flooding in Yelapa. We wish you guys well. Birthdays. Logan's comment on maintenance of villas is very, very timely. Of course, these comments are going to go on and on and on, and it'll be difficult to come back to them, which is why I want to show it now. We'll come back to this whole issue of maintenance in a little while. How about the Pitillal River, asks Christy. I drove over the river a couple of days ago when I was coming back from San Sebastián del Oeste, and you may recall that it has just been cleaned up of debris. Well, it was covered with water from side to side, although I couldn't see from the bridge I was crossing how deep the water was. But again, I haven't heard of major flooding. I did see a news item of a cow that was picked up by the current on the Coale River, but apparently the cow found her own way back to the shore, and cow was fine. These things happen. These things happen this time of year. Let me. David says that he sees a lot of seaweed that has washed up in front of Cuates y Cuetes. I wouldn't be surprised because other parts of the coast may have seaweed accumulation, and sometimes the ocean currents end up bringing that weed into our beaches. Sylvie asks, how's the road going to San Sebastian? Again, the pavement is divine. It was just repaved. The pavement itself is divine. But for example, the night before we went, there was heavy rain, and we could see a couple of landslides here and there. And as I just showed you, there was a major landslide that actually closed down the highway for a few hours. Our community has increased security. Do I feel that crime in Jalisco is on the rise? Oh, Lorraine, that is such a difficult question to answer because if you ask me, I don't personally feel that crime in Jalisco is on the rise. But again, the fact that I don't feel it doesn't mean that it's not happening. We are about to enter the month of September, and the month of September is considered the month that is most difficult in the summer for people to be able to do okay financially. In fact, we joke with a name. We call it Septiembre instead of Septiembre, because hambre means hunger, and we joke about September being the month in which people are most hungry. So what am I saying? What I'm saying rather is that it is this month that is coming up where we can anticipate more people perhaps trying to find creative ways to find money or food or this and that. So yes, it is possible that that thefts and crime will increase, but do I feel like there is an unexpected rise in criminal activity? I totally don't. So let me go back to headlines because we have, as I mentioned before, quite a few of them. I'll keep looking at your questions as we move forward. Let us now talk a little bit about health and COVID-related things, if we may. We've been mentioning in the last few days that the epidemic numbers in Mexico seem to be decreasing or have a tendency to decrease. And Hugo Lopez-Gatell has said that it's been a whole month in which the numbers have been decreasing, despite the fact that this last week the decrease in cases was not as high as it was expected. But so Hugo Lopez-Gatell insists on the fact that we should continue to be careful with how we carry ourselves out and about. Makes some additional comments about how there is no company, there's no business that should expect you to take a mandatory COVID-19 test. Apparently, there must be some companies that feel that if you get involved with them, you have to take a test, but there is no such law. And he also made some statements about the fact that the taxes imposed on junk food are going to be increased. He doesn't get specific as to when this is happening, but as I mentioned earlier, there continues to be an increasing awareness of this issue, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later. I also wanted to let you know that Marina Vallarta, as a colonia or neighborhood, has taken matters into their own hands, creating these sterilization or decontamination filters as you enter. There's some on the sidewalk, and then there's also some where your car is expected to stop as you drive through, so that they can spray you with something. it's not certain to me what exactly they're doing or how they're doing it. But this is a community that is trying to take care of itself. So maybe if you're planning on going in and out of Marina Vallarta, you may want to add a little bit of extra time to your trip, because I would suspect that this is something that will take some time to get through if you're going in and out of Marina Vallarta these days. I also see this article that mentions how it's challenging with hospital capacity in Puerto Vallarta, but this goes beyond the issue of COVID-19. Apparently, another person died outside of a hospital because either they did not have enough capacity or they did not have the medication to address the needs of this person. And this particular article brings awareness to the fact that even before COVID-19 came into the picture, there was a certain amount of insufficiency in public hospitals in Puerto Vallarta of a certain level, or to address certain types of diseases. And I'm glad to see that certain news outlets are making awareness of this, because it is important for the population to know where we stand and to speak to our authorities to make sure that enough resources are put aside to increase our hospital capacity in terms not only of hospital beds, but also the type of diseases that can be handled. It is always heartbreaking to read news about other parts in Mexico, and I'm sure this must have happened at some point here in Puerto Vallarta, when you have, for example, a cancer patient that dies in the hospital because the hospital just did not have the proper medication to take care of that patient. Let us hope and pray that this doesn't happen in Puerto Vallarta. As I was mentioning earlier, expect to find these types of labels to start appearing in the things you shop at supermarkets. This one here says it has trans fats, avoid its consumption. This one says it's high on sodium, avoid excessive consumption. This one says high in saturated fat, avoid its excessive consumption, and high in sugar. These are labels that are starting to become mandatory. And of course, companies like Coca-Cola is having a tizzy because they, needless to say, don't want these types of labels attached to their products. They have filed a federal injunction, and we'll have to see exactly what happens with this decision, and whether they're going to be able to prevent themselves from having to use these labels. Let's see, moving right along those lines. This comes from the state of Oaxaca, and there's a lot of business people that are complaining about the fact that in Oaxaca it is now illegal to sell junk food to children. And what they're complaining is that the government should be spending more resources in education and not in prohibition. If you ask me, education, there's been education about food for the longest time, and I personally, and this is just my own personal opinion, I think the prohibition of sales of certain products to children is not out of line, particularly when Mexico has such high levels of obesity. Let me know what your thoughts are on this if you want to share a comment to that effect. And the last bit of news is not really news. This is something that just caught my attention, because we've talked about train travel in Mexico, and we've talked about these new routes that are being developed both in Yucatan Peninsula, and also going from the coast from the Gulf of Mexico to the Pacific. Apparently, the number of this is the one website where I'm trying to refresh, because I want to see if I can get the images to show up. I was not able to get the images to show up a little while ago. But apparently there's been an increase in the amount of merchandise and products that are moved through Mexico by train. The number has increased to 26. It has increased by 26%. So it makes some sense to me that Mexico would consider reinvesting in train travel for industrial and for product movement. So it'll be interesting to see how much an increase of product continues to happen as more train tracks are redeveloped in the country. Last but not least, in terms of important news, we've mentioned a few days that the president of Mexico's brother, Pio Lopez Obrador, has been under investigation because he was captured on video receiving what they're calling a contribution to their political party, although some other opposition parties are commenting that this was not a contribution, that it was a bribe. So now the National Electoral Institute in Mexico has gotten into this business. We're looking at a photograph of Lorenzo Córdoba, who directs the Instituto Nacional Electoral, the National Election Institute, and they are presently investigating this issue of receiving contributions. Are they contributions? Are they bribes? It's hard to tell. I suppose we're going to continue to look into this as we move forward. Let me take a quick look at comments and questions you may have from this section, and then we will move forward. I have an thanks for mentioning that. Okay, thank you. It's interesting. Yeah. Sorry for the sound effects. I'm just trying to read very quickly through your comments. Mark reports, and I know that Mark lives in that neighborhood, that Rio Cuala at Insurgentes is the highest I've seen this year. I've seen photographs of Insurgentes and the Rio Cuala at Insurgentes where the water has gotten into the Encanto porch. I know that you live right next door, Mark. I hope you guys are doing okay. Before we move on to leisurely and weather, well, we want to look at the weather forecast. We already saw what happened with the weather, but let me show you the results about the property management business. I see here that half of you are not particularly interested in this. A smaller number of you are very interested, and some of you are somewhat interested. I'm left at odds. I feel I'm left at an odd point in which I don't know exactly how to deal with this. What I would like to ask you is if you have a specific property management company to recommend, one that is not so much concerned about managing your property as a rental, but just keeping your property in good shape while you're not here, then I would very much appreciate it if you'd share it in your comments. That way, I will be more than glad to share that with the person that made the inquiry to begin with, and we'll leave it at that. On the other hand, if at some point you have like property management woes that you'd like to share, or rental property woes that you'd like to share, then maybe we can do that on a Sunday fun day. I know it's not a funny matter, but I know that making an income out of renting properties is important to some, and I just want to make sure that here at Coffee and Headlines we make as many connections with as many locals as we possibly can. That said, let us dive into the weather forecast. Let's see what's going to happen in the next couple of days, and we will continue with a few more headlines. And of course, in order to do that, I need to turn the weather on. I didn't even turn the weather on today because I was so concerned with what was going on with the current weather, not so much the future weather. Here is Carrot Weather. Oh my God, Carrot Weather got it right today. It says, it's a drink lots of wine and stalk your ex on Facebook kind of day. Well, I'm not going to stalk my ex, but this business of drinking a lot of wine sounds absolutely appetizing to me. I don't know how you feel about that, but these wet, humid, gray days are definitely Merlot kind of days as far as I'm concerned. 28 degrees Celsius right now. Feels like 32 Fahrenheit. It's 82 degrees. We have an 80% humidity, and we see a 25% of precipitation for today, where we can expect rain and humidity through the day. Tomorrow, we're going to expect rain in the evening and overnight. And Sunday, we're going to have rain and humidity through the day. When we were looking at the live weather map earlier, I didn't see any specific formations of new tropical storms or weather. So it's a good thing that we are not going to have to worry about any or hurricanes, at least in the near future. Now, let me. Jan is very accurate. We don't need a hangover. We just need a little bit of, comfy beverage. Comfy beverage. And I have to say to you, and this is part of my my San Sebastian report, which I'm working on. Probably the best selling, well, not best selling, but the best. What kind of expression should I use? The most popular item during the trip is one of my friends brought these stainless steel insulated wine goblets that did double duty because we use them for coffee in the morning and we use them for wine at night, and they were absolutely fabulous. And I understand you can buy them in a set of 4 at Sam's Club right now, if they still have them available. You know how Sam's and Costco here in town have these seasonal products that if you don't buy them when they're there, they're bound to be gone a week later, and then you won't see them again, period. And that happened to me right before we went to San Sebastian. I went to Costco to look for these kinds of insulated wine gobblers, and I couldn't find any, which bummed me out. Anyhow, let us continue on with some leisurely stuff, and I want to address another question from another viewer, and this had to do with the discount card that you get to use public transportation. This is a nice gentleman that wrote to me saying that in order to get the new transit card, it asks for the new CURP. And I just want to make sure that everybody knows what a CURP is. If you are locals, you can get a CURP number. And a CURP number, CURP stands for Clave Única de Registro de Población, and that translates to unique code for population registration. Everybody has a CURP number, whether you are Mexican national or you can get one if you're a foreigner. It is good to have a CURP number because, as I understand it, you need this number for certain kind of bank affairs and to open accounts and this, that, and the other. I, being Mexican national, don't have to worry about those issues. But I did a little bit of research on this because I thought it might be important or useful to some of you. So let's take a look at what we have. First of all, we have the headlines. We have the headlines. There we go. There is this website called Programa Mi Pasaje where you can apply for a card whether you are a senior citizen or you are a student, and this gives you a discount on public transportation. Apparently, just reading this, you get a 50% discount for a yellow card, and a green card gets a 100% discount. And here we find out that the yellow card is for teachers, children, senior citizens, and people with some kind of physical disability. And the green card is available for senior citizens and students and people with disabilities. And in order to get this, you need to have this CURP card that I was mentioning. And about that card, I can tell you that there's this website where you can easily get your number if you are a Mexican national. And then there's another website where they have all the necessary documents for foreign residents in town. And you have to show your original and copy of your immigration document and your visa, whether it's an O1 or an O4, or if you're a diplomat, your D1 visa, and your S1 and S2 visa. And there is a directory of places where you can apply for these documents so that you can get your discount card for public transportation. So again, I'm sharing this information in case it is important to some. And if you find it useful, that is awesome. If you have any specific questions, your best bet is to contact these websites directly. I know that you have to go to a specific place in town to get the processes taken care of. And I know that given the COVID pandemic, their hours might be restricted. So it's always great to call ahead or to check out websites or Facebook pages in that case. I see a couple of quick questions that I'm going to address before we move on. Let me get rid of that and take a quick look at. Oh, I see some recommendations for property management. Thank you very much. Bum, ba-ding, bum, boom, bum, bum. Opening up a can of worms, asking about opinions of property management. Well, again, Michael, I know that it's a complicated issue, and I know that it's a very important issue for people that need their properties managed. I'm not entirely sure that Coffee and Headlines is the best vehicle to find useful answers for this, as we devote ourselves to issues that pertain to locals, English-speaking locals. Again, I am under the impression that most English-speaking locals don't concern ourselves with property management, and I just had a poll up that seems to reflect that. So places like the Real Estate Journal or the Real Estate Guide or other real estate related forums on Facebook or elsewhere might be better suited for more specific information. The last thing we want to do here is open more cans of worms than we usually do. And sometimes we get dicey, and that's about as dicey as we want to get. Would I feel the same about Coca-Cola sales if they ban margarita sales from adults because of alcoholism? That's a really good question, David. And I would have to say that I would not feel the same because of the percentage of alcoholism in Mexico as opposed to the percentage of obesity. In Mexico, obesity is a major problem. So I would feel differently about that simply because of the numbers. I love the markets in places like Oaxaca, Merida, and other cities. Can you talk about any markets nearby? Yes and no, Libby. The markets in other cities are a lot more interesting and colorful as the markets in Puerto Vallarta. Puerto Vallarta is a small city market-wise when compared to larger cities, certainly state capitals. If you mean artisan markets, we don't have a lot of artisan markets in town. If you mean fresh produce markets, we have a few in the city, and they are on my list of places to go visit. The Mercado in Aramara is truly, truly awesome. And I would be happy to dive into this more specifically sometime in the future. Suzanne's been trying to get a discount card for a year. Christina thinks I should go to the Guadalupe Valley area for wine tasting. It is on my bucket list, Christina. I understand it's beautiful out there. And I hopefully will get myself there at some point in the future. The sun is out. Oh, I didn't mean to. My blender is going. I love it. I didn't mean to click on that one, but salud, Rene. I went to click on that one. What age is considered senior citizen in Mexico? Jeannie, I don't know. But I would imagine that a quick Google search would answer that question. I encourage you to do that. And if you can't find an answer, let me know, and I will try to find an answer for you. Tapia, I hope you're feeling better after your surgery. I hope your wife is doing okay. What are my plans for the weekend, Paco? Well, I want to go to Hotel Mercurio on Sunday because there is a Coffee and Headlines visitor in town that I would love to get a chance to meet. Other than that, I need to do a lot of video editing for the San Sebastian piece and also for the Las Animas piece that I captured video for. Let's see, obesity and diabetes. You're absolutely correct, Felix. Thank you for that. And thank you for that opinion, Sean. The CURP number is also on your residency card. Thank you very much, Karen. I don't have such document being Mexican, so this is very important. Are you referring to the IMAPAN card? I understand that the IMAPAN card is the card for senior discounts. I did an article on that a couple of years ago, or maybe a year ago, on my website, and the article is there. It is difficult to get them here. Uh, it is difficult to get them here in Puerto Vallarta, and I did a whole research on that, and I can find the link on my website and put it on the show notes. Um, Thank you very much for that, Suzanne. You have to be 60 years of age to get a discount card. So I would imagine that 60 is the age in which you become a senior citizen in Mexico. Que bueno. This is very good news. Anybody that's going through medical procedures deserves all our good vibes. So please send some good vibes to Tapia and his wife. They exchanged body parts, and they need our love and support. Another answer about the senior discount card. Thank you very much for that, Chaz. And let me move on quickly to the last set of headlines that we've prepared for today. The first one is came from something that I found on Facebook. Needless to say, there is never a shortage of ways and places in which you can adopt an animal these days, but apparently there's going to be an adopt-a-thon, a cat adopt-a-thon this weekend, today, tomorrow, and Sunday at the park, the PTL park, and this is going on. So they're charging 250 pesos. They need some documents. If you want to adopt a cat, this might be a way to do it. But I'm putting this up knowing that there's all kinds of resources, including resources here in Coffee and Headlines in terms of adopting an animal. But I wanted to do my good deed and share this with you. Mexico's Independent Month is around the corner. We have important celebrations in Mexico. We celebrate our independence on September 15th, not on Cinco de Mayo, as a lot of people tend to think. And of course, we have two important federal holidays during the month of September, one being Mexican independence, the other being the day in which we celebrate the Niños Héroes, a group of young soldiers that defended the Chapultepec Castle in Mexico City, or allegedly defended. Why do I say allegedly? Well, simply because there is the way in which Mexico, or any country for that matter, tells their story or their history, and then there's the way it really happened. So during this month, we will be addressing certain facts about Mexico's independence and certain facts about Mexico's history that were written by somebody who thought they were facts and they were not. So I will be finding time during this month to research some things about Mexican independence, just so that you know what the implications of our independence are or were. I assume you find this important and interesting. If not, please just type no independence and we won't go there. But it's Mexican history. I find it fascinating. Anyhow, usually we have extended weekends because of holidays like this. This month, we will not, or rather this year, we will not have any long weekends due to the celebrations because of the date in which they fall. We also find out that Gloria Estefan, Lin-Manuel Miranda, and Thalia are heading a concert to benefit Latin culture in the United States, particularly in the theater in Broadway. So we'll be joined by Chita Rivera and a couple of other important Latino artists, such as Raúl Esparza. He's a famous Broadway actor. Daphne Rubin Vega, Daphne was on Rent. Angelica Vale, she's a famous Mexican singer and entertainer. So it'll be something that we will be able to enjoy on October 1st, and it's called Viva Broadway, Hear Our Voices. Just in case you're curious, I checked the Cinépolis offerings, and in case you've decided you feel comfortable going to the movies, I still don't know about that. And I can see that Cinépolis is doing more classics. They're showing The Exorcist, which I never got to see on the big screen because I was too young to be allowed to watch it. Yet another movie that I would be totally tempted to watch on the big screen. I'm just going to put that there in case you guys are feeling brave and courageous and going to the movies. If you are, let us know. Let us know how you feel about going to the movies. New York Times, as always, gives us 7 things to do this weekend, so you can get your cultural fix. And if you want to get another kind of cultural fix, I invite you to meet Lady Tres Pesos, the latest lady to make it to social media. This woman who claimed to be a lawyer, asked to be paid for her parking fee when she was not allowed into a Walmart with her child. Walmart, of course, told her you cannot bring a minor into the supermarket right now. And she was captured on video insulting the caregiver and saying all kinds of colorful metaphors, which I will take a look at later on today. And if I find any new and funny, colorful metaphors to share with you, I will, of course, save them for Sunday, Monday. Let me take a quick look at the last batch of questions and comments. Future question: getting Mexican citizenship. Interesting. Interesting. One of our gray areas. Okay, this is more of a comment. And again, Jeffrey, it's hard to draw a clear line between who this program is for and who it isn't. And just for the sake of keeping things focused, the one type of question that I definitely try not to get into here are questions that are very clearly being asked by vacationers or tourists, because there's so many resources available for visitors and tourists and travelers elsewhere. I am so happy that we have some more culturally inclined visitors that are part of this community. And by culturally, I don't mean like classical music or opera or stuff like that. Just people that are interested in the fabric of Mexico, in our culture, and the way we live, and the way we feel, and the way we talk, and the way we eat. A lot of tourists don't particularly care about that. So all questions are welcome. And if we find comments or questions that have to do with something that is clearly out of our bounds, then we will try to gently steer people to places where they will be able to find better answers faster. Am I going to adopt-a-thon? I am not, Kathleen, but I am keeping my eyes and my soul open for the right moment to adopt another kitty cat. Absolutely. I'm so glad that a number of you feel interested in Mexican history. I will definitely be doing some research because I find it fascinating. Oh, more comments about Mexican history, Karen. I'm a little late there, but enjoy your first vino of the day. Seatbelt fine, 1,400 pesos. Wow. That's just... oh, Jorge, I really wish you wouldn't. I really wish you wouldn't. I really wish you would appreciate that when I get cranky, and I know that I got cranky with you a couple of days ago, I get cranky to protect this community. And I don't try not to get cranky specifically at anyone. And I'm going to close with this. I see so many online communities that are toxic because they are full of empty criticism and empty destructive comments and things like that. When we started Coffee and Headlines, it became immediately important to me to make sure that this is a place where people felt comfortable asking questions and exchanging positive comments. Do I get ugly every now and then? Yes, I do. Have there been people that have been banned? Yes, they have. Why? Because they were not respectful to one another, and they were not respectful to me. So if you think you want to call me Lord Paco, I can't stop you. But I will continue to be vigilant of people that are not contributing productively to the exchanges that we're enjoying here. And as I've said before, this is something that some people will appreciate and some people will not. And to those people that do not appreciate it, I've said this before and I'll say it again, it's a big internet with a lot of great places for people to try to fit in. I know that coffee and headlines is not for everybody. So, for those of you that feel comfortable here, as always, I am grateful for your company. I am grateful for your nourishment because you nourish me, you nurture me as much as I try to nurture you. And that's the way it goes. Today is Friday, it's a weekend, so I hope you have some weekendy things planned for yourself. And I certainly have a couple of weekendy things planned for myself. So I hope your weekendy things are wonderful. I will see you again tomorrow, hopefully, if not soon. And I remind those of you that are new to the broadcast that Sunday is Sunday Fun Day, and that is the one day of the week in which we throw caution to the wind. We don't discuss news, and no one is safe, and nothing is sacred, and that's the way it goes. Between now and then, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive, stay dry. Stay dry. This is a very rainy season, and stay kind and stay in touch. I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care.